you're probably wondering, dang, you doing 3 videos a day now? Not really, but this is a video I was thinking about doing tomorrow. But then something cool happened, which is I got to play Tokon, and I want to kind of talk about that tomorrow, along with the Natland video and thing, right? So I have stuff planned for tomorrow, obviously. So I wanted to talk about this today, but I didn't know exactly how I wanted to go about this. But then I saw Visa basically go out their way to be like, we're now making a stride to be for the gamer. We're basically going to go out our way to be your friend as people that care about gaming and stuff like that. We're going to basically lie and piss in your face because we're so about gaming and so about the communities, and we just want you to have a good experience. This is the most obvious bullshit thing I think I've ever seen. Let's be real. And this video is probably titled something along the lines of, maybe, if there ain't no better title I can think of, like, parents should be arrested, because that's what it should come down to. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. There has been so much talk about trying to keep children safe, protect the children, things of the sort like that. Don't let children fall prey to evil things online and see inappropriate content and things like that. I am, for certain, 100% an advocate for keeping real children safe, keeping them protected to the highest degree that you possibly can, keeping them away from anything that's harmful. I'm absolutely for that. There is no way anybody on this planet should be saying, yes, let's just absolutely see them in the worst position, because no, at the end of the day, children do need to be protected from things that are, they think that they might be able to handle, but obviously it's for their own good. Like, they should be guided in the right direction. But when you start trying to take the whole world down that path, trying to force people to see the way of protecting the children and making that the most optimal bullshit objective, trying to force people to be censored in all regards, or trying to take down specific things in specific places of fiction and try to change people's culture and stuff like that, that's when the problem gets to an irritable ass level. And it's been an irritable level for a long time, especially if you're somebody that's been an anime fan for years. You've seen the changes, you've been through the highs and lows, you've been through it before anime got popular into where it is now. You understand a lot of this stuff. You get this. You've been in the game for a long ass time. You understand. So you should already know how much you should be despising how a lot of the world has basically turned into, right? And let's just be absolutely real. While it may not have been the first thing that really had, truthfully started a lot of, or at least all of the censorship stuff in the world, Lolly was easily the first target. Let's just be real. Because when it comes down to it, Lolly has been having like a notorious reputation for a long period of time. And I understand why. Morally, it is a messed up thing. It is crazy that it exists and that there's people that genuinely don't mind it and stuff like that. It is a weird ass thing, and I think even all lolicons could basically agree with you on that. However, the main key thing that you're probably sick of people saying, but it's true, it's not real. It's not necessarily something that's actually going to bring harm to people. Japanese government officials very much agree with this sentiment as well. They're not real. They're not harming anybody at the end of the day. They're just here to tell a story or just to get freaky. That is literally all it is. But when people go out their way to, see this whole conundrum of the censorship stuff as a whole, they don't necessarily really think of how that one thing got them to where we are now. Because let's be honest, a lot of the reason why we are here is because we are indifferent to what we actually like on a more freakier nature. We don't necessarily know what is okay for other people, what is actually good, and all that sort of stuff. People maybe they don't necessarily like, things like furry and stuff like that. They don't like furry content, people in fursuits just getting effed or anything like that. That's not necessarily their cup of tea. Sure, may not necessarily be the cup of tea, but I'm not going to stop someone from enjoying that content if that's what they want to do, because at the end of the day, it's their choice if they want to enjoy that sort of content, right? As long as no real animal is getting harmed, then whatever you're doing is whatever, right? Not my damn business, not my skin on my nose. Same thing with Lolly. There is nothing crazy about someone going in on that certain subject or wanting to post about that subject or things of sort like that. Whether you like lolly or not, whether you agree with the different factions of it or not, that's understandable if you don't like it. But ultimately, leave people alone. That is literally all you have to do. But when it comes down to censorship and how this all thing started, it's because of that. People didn't want to defend it in the first place. They didn't want to necessarily talk about it. The only people that has brought it up is people within the anime space that has common sense to know that yes, it's crazy, but it's not nearly as bad as obviously something real, or it's not really harming anybody because it's fiction and you should be able to tell the difference. And even then, still people didn't show up and actually did what they should have done, which is actually, try to be like, I don't like this sort of content, but don't try to ban this sort of thing or anything like that when it comes to it. Because now it went to things of furry nature, and then it went to things of gore and violence, and now it's basically erupted to where it is now, and we would have maybe been in a better position if people were not to be so weird and kind of slow when it comes down to things of the lolly nature and stuff like that. I could have been foretold you and seen it for a mile away. Most lolicons have already said this a mile away, that hey, some people might need to come through and help us out here, because if this gets banned, everything gets banned. And lo and behold, every single lolicon was right. Every single one of them that called this out was basically right. Because guess what? It has affected everything. It has gone through down this tangent and rabbit hole, and no one is really to blame but for the people that didn't listen, because now we all have to deal with it, and now it's gone to a weird ass place where it's absolutely ridiculous. Again, people care more about things of fiction than actual real life. It is crazy. There is still a whole list of the Island Man and the current administration that no one is really yapping about anymore. When it comes down to it, there's a whole list of people that's legit been harmed at a young age, and no one is doing a thing about it to actually release it, to release the actual work that needs to be done when it comes down to it. And it's utterly crazy to me that you have all the time in the world to care about a Pan having a fat ass from GT, and someone railing the shit out of Pan in all these sort of ways, and then the cringy Dragon Ball fan comes through, gets pissed off, and then want to start trying to attack and harass other people. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely crazy, and I don't really get that. If you're that worried about a pixel on a screen that doesn't exist and can't thank you for shit, then obviously you need to very much focus that energy on things of real life matters. That's where you should be focusing on. If you are a parent and you are basically letting your child do hoo-ha and not be on some actual parenting type timing, your ass deserves to be arrested. You should be arrested because you're neglecting your kid. At the end of the day, you're not making the environment safe for them. You're not necessarily being a parent. You're a hoe ass parent, but you're not necessarily being the proper parent that you should be. That is just how it is. That is how it is. It's basically child endangering. I might be going overboard with what I'm saying, but also, am I wrong for kind of feeling this sort of way? Because at the end of the day, yes, you need to be there for your kid. I understand not everything is going to be in control, and the government needs to learn this too, because obviously some kids are just going to run through life and basically see a lot of crazy things that they ain't supposed to, and that is just life in general. You can't control life itself. You just can't. People are going to see things when they see things, and that's just how it is. I'm not necessarily saying, oh, every single step of the way, every inch, every measure, you need to absolutely be watching everything that your child does, because let's be real, they're going to find something that they're not supposed to, and that's just going to be GG's. Okay, but to constantly let them be on social media, or be on Twitter, or just be everywhere, and just constantly voicing their stupid ass opinions on things that either A, doesn't matter, or B, they don't know what they're talking about, obviously hurts a lot of us in a lot of different ways that shouldn't be the case. And it very much shows. It's really hard when a lot of kids these days basically don't even really value, what they really are living through right now. They don't necessarily value, people, I would say, in a way. where it's like they understand what's going on. They understand that, people have different strokes of life that goes through them, mentalities and stuff like that, and what happens when they start trying to harass other people and things like this, and the effect of it having on other people and stuff like this. Yes, be a strong individual mentally and physically, I get that. But at the very same time, you shouldn't be initiating that sort of thing in the first place. And that's just a proof, really strong proof, that your parents really have failed you. Like, if I had a kid, and let's hope never this happens, and they end up going to like an adult site and all that sort of stuff, I'm gonna straight up catch them, tell them that, hey, this isn't what you should be looking at. If this is what you feel towards a certain thing, then fine. But ultimately, you shouldn't be looking at this sort of stuff. I'm gonna take their phone away. I'm gonna take any piece of technology I can away that basically gives them an idea of how to look up that sort of stuff or things like that. Is it gonna be forever? No, I'll give it back eventually when they learn responsibility. But when it comes down to it though, I'm not gonna sit there and just let them just do whatever, right? There's no way. And especially if you in the household that I am in, and if I am actually a lot more, bolder than I currently am, belt to ass. Belt to absolute ass. Whether you are my daughter or whether you're my son, you're getting your ass whipped from east to west because you're on sites that you really shouldn't be on and things like that, right? And it's not because I'm doing this because I hate you. I do this because I obviously love you. Because you're my own kid, and that's how it is. Right? That is how it's been for me. And that is how it's going to be for whoever the hell be my future kid. So buckle up, boy or girl. It's going to be your time to get whipped today. But that's just how it is. And if this video actually comes back in the future and actually it ends up happening, I will be surprised. Future me, if this does happen, holy shit. One, did we make it? If we didn't, damn. But if also we end up just being in a better position, holy shit. But we'll see how that goes. But when it comes down to it though, being responsible for your kid is obviously a big ass important thing that parents need to step up and do, right? And that's just how it is. No government, no collective shouts, no whack ass payment processor agency bullshit should be coming through and protecting your kids and trying to control what they see or things like that. Honestly, even because let's be real, they'll be more faster to do something about this with pixels on a screen and what they see more faster than they do with any actual real nonsense that go on with real life content. There is, multiple times where things of real life abuse in nature happens and no one really steps in. The Roblox situation is easily the best example for this. Roblox, the game itself, is not the problem. It's the problem when you get people on Roblox making these weird ass games, putting it in front of kids' faces, interacting with kids that obviously they shouldn't be interacting with, and then essentially causing an uproar. Roblox itself ain't a problem. It's the damn moderation that people that should be in charge, should be handling this. It is obviously the problem. And it's also even more so a problem for really the government, because the only reason why they're stepping in now is because they want to basically promote themselves, get a better position than where they are now, to make themselves look good in the political sphere. That is literally all they're doing this shit for, right? Unlike someone like, like Schlepp and, the people that's involved with the stuff that's going on with, him and Roblox, honestly. He's not doing this just because of getting some followers and stuff like this. If it gets followers, I'm pretty sure he will like that, but it's not the main thing. It's mainly to show yeah, these are menaces that is on Roblox, get them up out of here, and that is how it is, right? We wouldn't be having this problem if, again, more adults were actually responsible. And it's crazy how it feels like everybody else has to step in to take care of the actual kids in question versus the parents themselves, the government, things of sort like that. And it's not the internet's job to take care of your kid. If they see 5 dicks and 1 lolly in one room, it's GG's. That is up. It is whatever. That's just GG's to the person that's watching it, right? Because ultimately, That's not the internet's responsibility to take care of your kids. I don't know where this weird ass energy to basically come through to be like, yeah, we're gonna basically have like a lot of these people on the internet and try to have this whole anonymity thing taken away. Like, no, that's not the problem. The problem is people don't know how to watch their bum ass children, and that's what really is the fat ass issue. It's something that the UK needs to understand. It's something that parents need to understand. It is what it is, right? At the end of the day, our job, or at least what people want to do, is be on the internet, spit some bullshit, and be done with it, right? Have a fine time. Outside of that, no one should care about anything else, right? Outside of just making sure your own self is safe, because the internet is a weird ass place and you don't know what you're really going to stumble upon, so just be careful for yourself. That is it. That is the most of what people should be considering when it comes down to stuff like this. Again, take it for someone that did see stuff early on when it comes to sexual content. I obviously shouldn't have seen it, and I got my ass beat for it. High key. Understandably so. But you know why I got my ass beat for it? Why I got whipped for it? Why my phone got taken away multiple times? It's because my parents cared. Or at least my mom did. It's because she cared. And that's the reason why. And she still often tells us, don't go interacting with things you shouldn't. Because she's obviously a good parent. Or at least as good as she can be. And I do respect her for that. And all that sort of stuff, right? Hell, if it wasn't for her taking my phone one time back in high school, I wouldn't even became an artist. I would not be able to draw anything or even had that passion to do so, right? It's because my phone was gone at that point in time. I actually picked up how to draw and actually loved drawing, actually. Sure, I'm drawing like raunchy pictures and stuff like that at times, but at the same time though, I wouldn't have discovered the ability if it wasn't for that moment, right? So again, parenting just does wonders. It's amazing. You should try it sometime, honestly. But yeah, you just don't know what you're really gonna get when it comes down to it. And when you actually become a parent, and actually do your parenting jobs and do what you're supposed to do, that's really what that comes down to. What all this censorship has come down to is to be a damn parent, right? And as far as Lolly goes, you should already know, especially if you've been on the channel for years now. Lolly is fine. There is nothing wrong with it. It is not about the age of the character. It's about the body type and, all that sort of jazz when it comes down to it. Just the flatness, and just what the body actually is. Nothing about that. Tons of Asian women, Japanese women exist that looks exactly, to that type of body type. Flat ass, flat tits, cute face. That's it. That's literally how certain Japanese people do look like, and that's just how it is. And it's not that big of a damn deal, or it shouldn't be. And the fact that for years people has also said, oh, Japanese women are basically real life lollies, and use that same terminology to kind of be like, yeah, you weird if you like some random adult Japanese woman. What logic even is that? What logic even is that to the highest degree? I still don't understand how people got to that point of thinking, right? I still don't. And yes, very much so. There is, again, definitely weird things in lollies that people just do not necessarily like. Like, obviously, when you have like a 3D model of a character and, obviously it could look very realistic. It could be a very much a weird time. It could be a very much a weird thing for people to accept. But there is people that do accept it. There is people that don't necessarily like it. And I get that, right? And that's very much understandable. And it can be very much weird as well, right? And there's been back and forth on this subject too that no one can really seem to agree on for some reason, and that's just how it is. But traditionally, when it comes down to an anime lolly or a cartoon lolly in particular, there is no reason why people should be flipping tables like it's the slow-mo guys with the slow-mo table flip, just being pissed off at just because I guess like Dan didn't really like that champagne that one time. There is no reason for that, because ultimately it is fictional content at the end of the day. If I wanted to see, let's say Anya twerking ass and just getting cummed on, that's perfectly fine. I don't think that's anything wrong with that if that's what you want to see, right? If you want to consume that sort of content, you can. If you want to ignore that sort of content, you absolutely can. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is only a problem when you take fiction into real life and try to take real life, and try to mix it in between things. That is a no-go. That's an absolute no-go. Any true lolicon, any real anime fan would obviously know, yeah, don't take this fictional shit to real life, because yeah, you're screwing yourself in 5 million different ways than you should. And that's just how it is, right? There shouldn't be no crossing the lines, no blurring the lines and stuff like that, if I'm gonna be honest. Because it definitely leads into a lot of disaster. And that's just genuinely how it is. I am alright, at least in this current moment in time, with lolicon and lolly material and stuff like that when it comes down to it, right? And sometimes, and this is why sometimes in the past, when people made Twitter posts about who's in the lolly community, and that's like the top people in the lolly community, you know why I was pissed? Because my ass would have been on that damn list if I was more well known. When it comes down to it, I am perfectly fine with being on a list like that when it comes down to it, because at the end of the day, it's fictional content. It doesn't effing matter. If you don't like it, perfectly fine. But ultimately, it shouldn't be banned. It shouldn't be, treated ban-worthy. Because at that point, you're basically getting free reigns for anybody to come through to say, alright, well, violence needs to be banned. Or, some gambling needs to be banned. Or, just characters in general of fiction needs to be banned. Because that's just not how that works. That shouldn't be how that works. And, obviously, the moment you let one thing go and you let one thing slide, everything else follows. And again, look at where we are now. You don't have to agree or like the take that I'm basically saying, but you do know there is a part of it that is for sure right. That, even though you don't like lolly yourself, there's some degree of truth to it. The only reason why I particularly like lollies is because certain lollies are just genuinely cute. I like cute things, to be perfectly honest. And to be real, the lollies I more focus on is people built like Konako. People built like, that one lolly from The Melancholy of Suzumiya, Haruhi Suzumiya, and that one Kudere lolly and stuff like that. Lollies that are a bit taller, a bit more actual having body and stuff like that, then I would faster say something like Anya. Anya's fine. Anya's cool, sure, but it's not my first pick. I wouldn't say anybody like Kana or something like that to be the first pick. Sure, Kana has a fat ass on a lot of these damn fan arts, but that's about the size of it, right? I'll be more quicker to say, a middle ground Nezuko than I would say anything else, honestly. And that's just how it is. But you get the dang point. I like my lollies with a bit of height to them, that actually has a bit of a brain and isn't just straight up, on the lower end of the spectrum, I would say. So that's just how it is for me. But mainly, again, I like them because they're cute, and that's just how it is. That is literally how it is. But ultimately, you do have people that like the other end of the spectrum, and that's perfectly fine. Because again, it's not necessarily, real. It's not necessarily breaking any sort of ultra boundary or anything like that. Now, granted, if you are in a place where that's just not acceptable, then obviously don't risk having that material or looking at that certain material, because that's just how it is and your government sucks. But when it comes down to it, though, obviously for the US, for people over here, that's not an issue. People in Japan, that's not an issue. And the fact that people want to ban things like this, especially mainly this, is wild, because that makes up basically all of anime. Toriyama with Arale most likely got inspiration for that. Parts of Dragon Ball have, inspiration from things of younger characters and stuff like that. Most of anime does. If it wasn't for Lolita anime, the first hentai to be ever really made, we wouldn't have anime as we know it today, and that is just how it is. And it did, yes indeed, took a lolly getting clapped a bit. That's just how it is. You don't have to like it, but that's true. A lot of these different people that started up in the anime industry, that are like some of your favorite people that existed within the 80s, they very much had a hand in the lolicon boom era of the 80s. They don't ever talk about it ever because they're probably ashamed of it now, but don't be ashamed, it's facts. That is what you did. You were a part of that history. It is what it is, right? That is just how it is. And honestly, if we're going to go back on the topic of Toriyama, that man never lost his touch to it. That's why you had people like, obviously, Kid Goku to exist. Maybe not necessarily a lolly, but a Shota. That's why you had, him to be focused around that part of Dragon Ball, probably inspired because of that. That's why Aurelie probably existed, and hell, Mario is inspired by Aurelie and stuff like that in the way they move. You have obviously like other lolly characters that he created. Had that one character from that one shot manga that he made, that the office lady that was just basically a short ass lolly that was just getting forced into getting clapped, and that's just how it was. You know, you had people like Pansy recently, Toriyama's last lolly character. It just is what it is. He was cooking, and he gave us Pansy. I don't know what that tells you, but I think that tells you that he's perfectly fine with creating characters like that. And if he had it his way, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have done some wild and shit to Pansy too, if it was the old Dragon Ball days. I would have loved to seen it. But when it comes down to it though, it's just not acceptable for a lot of people because people are indifferent to what the hell they really try to focus on in terms of NSFW content. And that's just how it is. But my point of what I'm trying to make is that one, parents need to parent. Parents need to be actually there for their kids and not necessarily be like the most stereotypical black family household where one leaves and the other one stays and basically try to take care of the kids all their own, and that's just how it is. And ultimately you need both parents in the household, because if y'all are so comfortable making children turn transgender or being into some type of weird sexuality or trying to make them be gay or lesbian or whatever at an early age, you should be able to be an actual parent and step up and actually protect them from shit like that too. Because that's another reason why a lot of weird stuff happens. Why a lot of certain incidents that involves a school happens with people that do be involved in stuff like this, and kids that be involved in stuff like this. Because obviously there's an issue there no one wants to talk about, because people don't want to necessarily get canceled. They don't want to necessarily get shut down in some shape or form. And that's just how it is. It just, again, it's a shitty time. It's a shitty time because no one wants to basically talk about the truth of the matter of the subject. And that is just how it is, right? There is definitely obvious evils that exist that you should protect children from. And I said this before too. Why the hell do your child need to know what being gay is or being trans is and all that sort of stuff? These little assholes should know what a damn shape is. They should know what triangles are. They should know multiplication, division, you know, percentages, stuff like that. Things that actually is used in everyday life that gets them through in regular school stuff, and not necessarily all the other weird shit that life likes to throw. If they want to learn about that certain stuff, wait till high school, take a sex ed class if they do have it available, and then learn about it that way, right? Because at that point you should know, at least have an idea as to what that is and how things kind of operate when it comes down to that, and be a responsible person and member of society in terms of taking care of yourself and other people around you when it comes down to it, right? That just is what it is. And again, as far as lolly go, there is nothing wrong with lolly. There shouldn't be anything wrong with lolly, or shouldn't be, you know, overly hated as it usually is. And again, no one should stand for actual predator content and predators in general, because ultimately they are not necessarily well in the head. They are very much people that are either people that's been hurt in the past, or people that are just way too damn deep into the shit that needs to be, you know, basically pulled off somewhere. They need to go somewhere when it comes down to it, and be arrested and things of sort like that, and properly be, you know, left there to really just stew in that shit, right? Even people say executed. I won't go that far. I think jail is maybe good, maybe to a degree, depending on the severity of the case. Probably, I don't know. I'll let you decide on that one. But when it comes down to it, just go somewhere else that is not anywhere near anime, lolly, and all that sort of stuff too, right? That's just genuinely how it is. And definitely just go over there, basically. Just go your dumbass over there, essentially. And that's just how it is, right? Again, if you are into a fictional level, perfectly fine. No one cares. No one should care. But when you go into this sort of level of just a lot of other stupid stuff, that's just not how that works. That's just not how it is. Again, the government, Visa, MasterCard, the UK, Collective Shout, everybody that is having these powerful levels of just money and power, they don't care about protecting your child. At the end of the day, you need to care about protecting your child. At the end of the day, that's just how it is. Because ultimately, just like they proven with Roblox. Talking too much. Almost died. But just like what they proved with Roblox, the only thing that they've proven is that they care about money. They care about control and power. And that's exactly why we're in this position at the end. And that's why they didn't really care too much about Roblox until they had a power move to kind of play politically. And that's literally it. That's literally all they did. And ultimately, it's not good. That's not good at all. That's not great whatsoever. And it's weird how, again, people are so hell-bent focused on pixels than they are actual children needing to be saved. But that's essentially all I really want to say for this one. Hopefully you did enjoy. Hopefully it made some sense. Again, you don't have to agree with a lot of what I said, but at the end of the day, you know somewhere in there is truth. Whether you believe it or not, whether you making fun of me, I don't really care. I just feel like this is what genuinely is the truth of it. People realize it, but no one wants to say it out loud. And ultimately, again, it might not be something that you like, but definitely it shouldn't be banned at the end of the day. If it is banned, or if it does happen, that's an attack on the freedom of speech more than it already is, an attack on freedom of expression more than it already is. Because not even in a way when it comes down to just, you know, regular hentai content, but also at the same time, just even with storytelling, right? What if you needed to tell a story? What if somebody has gone through an event in their life, they want to tell that story, but they can't because people ban that because of stupidity ass reasons? That's just how it is. Because we already know, going by case study, with anything legal wise, you know, the government doesn't do their best job at being the most active towards that unless there's a goal to be had. And that's just how it is. But again, your freedom of speech shouldn't be attacked. Your freedom of expression should be attacked. Just none of it should be. You should not be going through a lot of censorship as it is. No one should. And the fact that we are is nonsense. But again, for real this time, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also follow my socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's my boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.